They warned me about taking on night transports along the Yucatan coast, but back then, when the coin ran low and the rum ran out faster, warnings sounded like gossip. Still, when I saw the cargo they brought me that night, a single coffin-shaped crate wrapped in tarred canvas, I felt the kind of cold that sinks straight into the bones. And if you stay with this story till the end, you'll understand why I've never again touched anything shaped like a coffin, no matter the price. My name doesn't matter. What matters is that for 20 years, I ferried contraband across waters patrolled by men who smiled only when they were killing someone. I hauled tobacco, rum, stolen silver, even banned books. But nothing, not once, came close to the weight of that crate. And I'm not talking about its mass. It was close to midnight when the client appeared on the pier. A tall man with a clean coat and dirt in his eyes, the kind that doesn't wash off. He placed the covered crate on my deck, as gently as if laying a child to sleep. He didn't explain what it was. He didn't have to. Men who talk too much at night tend to disappear by morning. I had a crew of 4 back then, lads with rough hands and rougher habits. They joked at first, calling the crate a traveling coffin, until one of them, Gale, the superstitious one, swore he saw the canvas twitch. We laughed it off, or pretended to. But even the waves seemed nervous as we pushed away from the pier. The air smelled wrong, more metallic than salty, and every time a lantern flickered, shadows crawled across the crate like something trapped inside was turning over. The first sign came an hour after we left port, a soft thud from inside the crate, then another, slow, rhythmic, as if someone or something was knocking politely, waiting to be let out. We froze. Gale muttered a prayer. The others pretended not to notice, but the fear settled into our lungs like damp smoke. I told myself it was shifting cargo. What expanding? Trapped air. Anything but the truth creeping into my mind. The shape wasn't empty. By the second hour, the knocking grew louder, more desperate. My heart thudded with the same rhythm. My hands felt suddenly small, weak like a child's. The men gathered near the mast, whispering, glancing at me for answers I didn't have. A storm rose behind us, clouds swollen and purple like bruises. Rain stabbed the deck. Thunder cracked the sky open. And still, from beneath the canvas, the pounding continued. At some point, the crate tipped slightly with the sway of the ship, and I heard it. A voice, muffled, panicked, human. Someone was alive in there. My gut twisted. Human cargo wasn't new for smugglers, but we'd never been asked to transport someone dead alive inside a sealed coffin. Something about it felt worse than crime, worse than sin. It felt like walking willingly into a curse. The storm swelled until waves slapped the deck with the full weight of the sea. The lanterns died. Darkness swallowed everything except the faint outline of the crate, rocking, straining, as if the occupant was fighting for air. I made a decision then. Maybe it was guilt. Maybe fear, maybe the memory of my brother, buried alive in a collapsed mine long ago. I grabbed a crowbar and approached the crate. Lightning flashed behind me, stretching my shadow across the deck like a warning. My crew begged me to leave it, to toss it overboard, to leave the secret sealed. But the knocking, God, the knocking wouldn't stop. I tore the canvas, wood splintered under the crowbar. The moment I pried off the lid, the storm seemed to inhale. Inside wasn't what I imagined. A young woman lay, bound hand and foot, gagged, her eyes swollen from crying, her wrists rubbed raw against rope. She gasped when the wind hit her face, like tasting freedom for the first time in days. I pulled her out. She collapsed against me, trembling uncontrollably. The crew stared as if I'd dragged a ghost onto the deck. Through her choking breaths, she managed to speak a single sentence. He's coming. Lightning struck again, too close, and revealed a shape far behind us. A ship, riding the storm like it was born from it. Black sails, no lanterns, moving too fast for the wind to had. Whoever put her in that crate had come to take her back. Terror rippled across the deck. We scrambled to adjust course, but the storm was too wild. The wheel bucked against my hands. The ship creaked under the fury of the waves. The black-sailed vessel cut through the water with unnatural precision, its bow rising like a blade aimed straight for us. The woman clung to me, whispering the same sentence over and over. He's coming, until her voice frayed thin. The crew shouted. The storm screamed. The black ship closed the distance. When it was near enough to see the men aboard, grim faces, armed, purposeful, I understood the truth. They weren't pirates. They weren't slavers. They were something worse. Professional collectors. Men who retrieve whatever their employer claims as his property. No questions asked. No mercy given. They didn't fire cannons. They didn't shout demands. They simply prepared boarding hooks, confident we'd fall into their hands like every ship before us. But they didn't expect the storm to shift. A monstrous wave rose between our ships, high as a cliff. For one suspended moment, time slowed. Rain hung in the air like shards of glass. The woman's eyes locked with mine, pleading, knowing this was the only moment we had. The wave crashed, not on us, but on them. It swallowed the black-sailed ship in a roar that drowned even the thunder. For a breathless second, their vessel disappeared behind a wall of water. When it dropped back into the sea, the ship was crippled. Masts snapped, deck shattered, men thrown overboard like rag dolls. We cut through the chaos and vanished into the darkness before anyone could recover. Dawn came weak and pale. The storm died with the night. My crew slumped where they stood, exhausted and hollow-eyed. The woman remained silent, staring at the horizon as if expecting the black sails to rise again from the depths. We dropped her off on a forgotten stretch of coastline, far from any port. She didn't say thank you. She didn't need to. The way she touched the earth, as if it were the first safe place she'd known, was enough. When she walked away into the jungle, she didn't look back. We set sail again, but something fundamental had shifted in me, in all of us. I stopped taking sealed cargo after that. Stopped trusting men who spoke softly and paid quickly. Stopped believing that the sea punished only those who deserved it. Because that night taught me something I still can't shake. The ocean hides bodies, but people hide something far worse. And some secrets are heavy enough to sink an entire ship. For weeks after we left that cursed coastline, the sea felt different, as if the waves had memory, as if the storm had marked us. My crew tried to shake it off. Jokes returned, rum returned, tempers returned, but not the old rhythm. Something inside each of us remained clenched, like a fist that refused to open. It started small, not fear, not nightmares. Something subtler. Birds avoided our ship. I'd spent my life on water and knew the patterns. Frigates following high masts, gulls circling above, even the occasional hawk catching wind over the deck. But ever since that night, not a feathered creature came within a mile of us. The sky above felt empty dead. Then came the currents. They pushed against us, no matter the direction we sailed. Looked normal on the surface, but the underflow pulled sideways, dragging the keel like a hand, trying to steer us somewhere we had no intention of going. But the worst was the silence. It crept in slowly. First, the wind died on certain nights for no reason. Then the creaking of the board softened. Then the water lapping at the hull faded into a strange hush. You don't realize how loud the sea is until it stops talking. By the 10th silent night, I understood we weren't being followed by a ship. We were being followed by the consequences. The first real sign came from Gale, the same man who swore the crate had twitched. He stared out over the rail one night, unmoving, eyes locked on some point in the dark water. When I approached him, he didn't blink, didn't flinch, didn't even breathe deeply. He whispered, barely audible, that he saw something below the surface. Not a shape, not a person, something waiting. He refused to say more. Didn't sleep after that. Just paced the deck from bow to stern like a man trying to outrun a shadow tied to his own feet. Then he vanished. We woke one morning and Gale's bunk was empty, his boots neatly placed beside it, his coat folded at the end of the mattress. No splash in the night, no straged, just absence. The sea swallowed him quietly, as if claiming a debt. The others said he jumped. I didn't believe it. Men like Gale feared death more than sin. But the unspoken truth hung in the humid dawn air. Something had followed us out of that storm. Something tied to that crate, to that girl, to the men who'd build a coffin as transport. It wasn't supernatural, not in the storybook sense. It was worse. It was the weight of knowing what we carried, the weight of knowing who else wanted it, the kind of weight that cracks a man's foundation the way water seeps into wood and rots it from the inside. After Gale disappeared, the sea changed again. At sunrise the next day, we spotted debris drifting. A plank, then a shredded sail, then a broken mast bobbing like a gravestone. It was the remains of the black-sailed ship. We were nowhere near the storm's path, nowhere near where it should have sunk. Yet the wreckage drifted to us, piece by piece, calm as driftwood. When a half-burned lifeboat bumped against our hull, Rowan looked at me with a question neither of us wanted answered. Why had the sea delivered their bones to our feet? We hauled the damaged boat aboard. Its interior was scraped by nails, deep grooves in the wood, the kind left by men who died clawing at anything to stay alive. But the strangest part, the part that kept me awake long after the night watch took over, was a single object wedged under the bench. A wooden plaque, carved with a mark I recognized too well. The same emblem stamped into the underside of the coffin crate we'd pried open. A circle split by a vertical line. A brand belonging to men who didn't trade goods. They traded people, collectors, hunters, debt keepers of the darkest kind. Finding their mark meant one thing. They hadn't lost interest. Storm or no storm, sunken ship or not. They had more hands, more ships, more reasons to keep chasing what we'd stolen from them. We thought we had escaped that night, but we hadn't escaped anything. We had delayed the inevitable. By the next moon, another omen arrived. A single rowboat drifting without oars, carrying a burlap sack and nothing else. My gut twisted before we even pulled it aboard. Rowan sliced the rope around the sack's neck and stepped back as its contents spilled over the deck. Not a body, not a message, just rope, cut rope, the kind used to bind wrists and ankles inside a coffin-shaped crate. They weren't threatening us. They were telling us, "We know what you freed." The message spread through my crew like poison. Whispers in the corners, sweat beading on brows even at night, men sleeping with knives in hand. No one dared mention the girl, but everyone thought of her. For days after, I felt watched, even with nothing but open water around us. I checked the horizon compulsively, expecting black sails to rise. Instead, something else appeared, a speck on the water, too small to be a boat, too round to be driftwood. It floated closer with the current. A bottle, not a sailor's message, not a prayer swallowed by waves. Inside was a piece of linen, stained brown, and wrapped inside the linen, a single brass button, the kind that belonged to my coat. My coat, with the button missing since the night of the storm, torn off when the woman clung to me as we pulled her from the crate. Whoever sent it had been close enough to find it on the deck, close enough to take it, close enough to watch us. My blood went cold. I finally understood the truth I'd avoided since that storm. The collectors didn't want her back. They wanted everyone who had touched the secret she carried, and we were next on their list. That night, no one slept. The sea was too still, the sky too dark. Even the stars hid behind a sheet of black cloud. Around midnight, the water behind us rippled, then parted. Then a silhouette rose, tall, angular, unmistakably human, standing on the wreck of a shattered plank as if the sea held him upright. The storm flashed weak lightning behind his frame. A collector, alive, watching, waiting, silent, as if promising. You escaped once. You won't escape twice. And I realized with a sinking, undeniable certainty, our nightmare wasn't over. It was just beginning.